Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Our guest is the hottest hitmaker out of Miami, Florida. We'll meet him in a second. But first, grab your calendars, mark these dates. June 21st and 22nd. That's the Sweetwater Gear Fest Extravaganza. 2 full days of fun, gear, information, and the best and brightest in the audio world. All done at the amazing Sweetwater campus. Pensado Live will be there. That would be Dave and I. Saturday the 22nd from 3:30 to 4:30 in Conference Hall 1. You want to get there early to grab a seat. We're going to have a bunch of goodies to give away. Lots of info you can use. You'll get your questions answered, and who knows who might just drop through. We're hearing some very cool names. We'll do that. Best of all, it is free to attend. That's June 22nd, 3:30, Conference Hall 1. 1 month later, Summer NAMMs in Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. July 18th through the 20th at the Music Center. Dave and I's session is at 1 p.m. on Saturday the 20th. We'll have a special guest, a bunch of fun in store. We'll do it up Pensado style. Plus, the good folks at NAMM are doing our audience a real solid. You get a special free pass. All you have to do is go to this link you see below me, click it, sign up at the top of the registration page, and use the promo code Pensado, and boom, you are good. So come on out. We want to meet you, take a pic, say hello. Thank you for supporting the show. And thanks to our partners for taking really special care of our audience. Good stuff. To keep you informed, sign up for our newsletter, click like and subscribe and notify, and we thank you for that. All right, DP, what's our ITL offering this week?
Herb, I'm going to show you one of my favorites. How, why, and when I like to widen 808s, kicks, and bass. Check it out. Hey everybody, thanks for coming by. I think this is a really cool song. I heard it and just fell in love with it. Everything about it I like. This is by Eric Messi Capone. I met him on Instagram, and he came by the studio, and this is what we got. Now you can hear the vocal, and the vocal has some reverbs on it. If you haven't already, check out the Into the Lair where I show you exactly what I did on these reverbs. But right now, you see the bass. Now what I've done, it's also an 808, by the way. I made a copy of it, and check this out. This is what we came up with. Smoke out your mouth. Take a good hard look at yourself. You gotta polish up. So let me solo just these. The bass is the 808. Ooh, I like that. What I did was I have this EQ on the original sound. This is a copy, so I tuned it, which I do with a lot of 808s. Make sure they're in tune, because if they're in tune, they sound louder. And this is a new little plugin from Native Instruments that I've been using a lot. It's called Byte, and if you pick it up, this is a good starting point. Check that out. And then this is made by SSL. It's their new plugin. I like that a lot. Low Ender, if you haven't tried this, I think I've shown you this before, but this is a good place to start with that too. Real good plugin. And one of my favorites, this HEQ, I forgot who used this, but I was cruising around YouTube and I saw one of the newer producers using this, so I ripped it off. And then almost that preset, and then of course the magic, black box. So that's here. But what I want to show you is the parallel. I'm going to play it. I'm going to shorten this sound because it's a little long, so don't be mad at me. But here's without the parallel. Ooh, anemic. Even after all my stuff. Oh, you know what? Let's see what my stuff did. Oh, damn, that's cool. Okay, now here's with it again. Now let me show you what I did on this. Here's just the parallel by itself. It's amazing how things work sometimes. So track control, you know what that is. So I started with this Brainworks replication of the DBX 120. I can't remember. There's a number after that. Something like DS, 120 DS might be. But this is actually an improvement on that. It was a sub-harmonic generator in the analog world, and they did a great job of reproducing that. There's several versions of that out, by the way, of that particular unit. I had one, and if you heard any of my mixes in the 90s, that's what I used. And this is a great starting point, by the way. Check that out. And then I've shown you this plugin before. It just creeps into a lot of things I do unexpectedly. It just does so much so well. And I'll show you with or without it. Yeah, a lot. And then this is the only part of the frequency spectrum I really needed, because remember, I'm adding it back to the original sound. So I don't want to duplicate all the high-end information, because then it'll get louder. This is just the frequency that I felt we needed to enhance the see what I'm saying? So that's why the A/B with it in and out is not spectacular, because we're just doing sub stuff. Cool. Okay, so and then this is what we're really here to do and show and see and hear. This is the Roland Dimension D. My first week in LA about 2 years ago, I bought a couple of these. I'd heard that one of my favorite engineers, Eric Thorngren, was using them. And I didn't know Eric or anything, but I bought one just because I thought his mixes were cool. And we don't really know what it does. I'm not sure the people at Roland actually really know what it does, but it's kind of a chorus. It's kind of a simulation of a small room. It's kind of a lot of things, but it was an analog piece of gear, and you can still buy them. They're very affordable. But this UAD emulation is dead on. Now, what I would recommend is to go through these switches. Like you can put all 4 buttons in, but you have to use this. So now all 4 buttons are in. So now let's try 1 button. Number 2, number 3, number 4. I like number 1. 2 is not bad though. No, that's wimpy. 3, 3, 1. Okay, you guys can't see them, but I'm gonna turn to Nico and Jaime. Which ones you guys like?
Number 1.
Number 1. Okay, so I guessed right. And that's it. What more can I say? That just makes everything come alive, and like I've said so many times before, in the mix, it doesn't take the mix over, but it certainly asserts its ugly nature in there, which just makes it sound better. Let's hear a little piece more. I like this. Let me find a different spot in the song for you.
Drip right from head to toe. We keep waiting for hard lies to start. We keep tearing ourselves apart. Spend our paychecks on fast times and bars.
Man, don't you just love this song? I hope you're gonna hear it on the radio soon. Keep an ear out for Eric Macy. Keep an ear out for Messy. We call him Eric here, though. And thanks for playing along. We'll see you next time.
DJ Khaled, The Weeknd, Maroon 5, Beyonce, and many more all have been blessed by our super talented guests. Please enjoy our conversation with the one, the only, Ben Billions. What's up, man?
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
So,
see you, Benny.
Delaware's
Likewise.
finest. Are you the hottest thing to come out of Delaware besides Joe Biden, or what?
Whoa. Well, Star is from
that's right.
from Delaware too.
That's right.
But
And you knew Star's whole family, right?
I didn't know her, but I knew her family growing up. We lived right down the street, so it's crazy. We kind of both won at the same time.
Right.
Before us was George Thorogood in the Delaware Destroyer. So
wow, that's right, man.
Bad to the bone.
Bad to the bone.
It's been a while.
As you're here, you actually just won a BMI award for your work with Maroon 5, right?
Yep.
What was As Lovers?
What Lovers Do, yep.
Great record.
Yeah, Jason Evigan and Star were...
Jason's been on the show for sure.
And J Cash threw me the...
Yeah. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it.
Your history is fascinating because there's some distinct parts to it. Like there's the in school in Florida Full Sail part. Then there's the legendary decade at Circle House as an engineer where there's a lot of learning and so forth.
Definitely.
And then you managed to move to the producer side, but also stay low key. And I admire that you have made the music and the work the point. The folks are discovering you now, but you've been doing this for a minute. Is that a fair way to describe it?
I appreciate it. I mean, I like to think that the music speaks for itself. Sometimes I'm like, maybe if I exploited myself more, we'd make more money, but I enjoy being behind the scenes. And I think the best producers are chameleons sometimes. It's the song and is more important than me. You know, my name's there if you want to go look it up, but
there's no tag in the record.
Yeah,
that
but
says,
it's about the song. And what's cool about it is, I guess for the people that did find out about me, that means they liked it so much that they went in to see who did it. And
let's be real clear now. I like this little humble thing you're putting on, but in the industry, everybody knows you. You've had too many big records to not be known within the industry. So outside of the industry, you might not be as well.
Yeah, that's the good thing is like the customers know. So the people that need to get it, and that's who needs to know.
Check writers know.
Yeah, hopefully. I think they got the address by now.
Well, when you look at the list, I mean, Weeknd, Beyonce, Khaled, Maroon 5, Meek Mills, Nicki Minaj. I mean, it's everybody.
More.
Yeah, I do too. I'm just not doing it because it won't be interesting TV. But part of what I think is also amazing about your journey is that you have found inside different genres ways where you can get your creative sense off. Like when it's a pop record and you have vocals or so on and so forth, you can go play with effects or ambient sounds and so on and so forth, right? Is that part of the...
For sure. I love it. I mean, it's a place to show off some of this knowledge and tools we have. It's also what makes it fun. I mean, to approach each project differently. Even other rappers, I want to give them the same type of music. So it's really trying to keep myself inspired and figure out what I think an artist would like and what I think they might need or how we can contribute to their sound.
Because you one of the things that you have said before is that production is like art. Producing is like art,
for sure.
And this is the way you can take your brush out and paint, right?
Definitely. You have a bunch of colors in your palette, and which ones you use for each painting, and each song is different, each client is different, but just trying to keep it not mundane too. So it feel like we're doing different things and not countlessly doing the same.
Was the 10 years at Circle House was engineering the foundation for you to build on? Tell us about those years there, because those are critical years.
Well, honestly, it was probably like 4 years at Circle House, and then with Khaled. I was Khaled's engineer. Still would work at Circle House, but yeah, it started as an intern, moved up to assistant engineer, to head engineer at Circle House, and that gave me so much connections and resources, and just got to be the fly on the wall for so many years of sit there and watch other people and learn from what they did and learn from sometimes other people's mistakes of what to do, and when I had that chance, how I would handle it. And Obviously, I wish it would have happened earlier, but in retrospect, I'm glad it happened when it did.
What was the tipping point from engineer to producer?
Partly,
Was it a transition or was it a day?
yeah, I said that in one thing. I mean, I always wanted to be a producer, and I saw engineering. I grew up in Delaware, didn't have really any resources. I saw this as a way to get in the door. And this business, it's like you're always on the outside looking in until you're inside. So that was my way to get inside. And half of the preconceived, this is how it works, was false. The things you think this is how it goes. And when you're really there, you're like, it humbles you because it's usually not as magical. It's not as quick of a, if I knew it was going to take as long, I might have chose a different, but
I know what you mean.
Even though I love the path and I love the struggle, that's what the story is, everything. But it definitely prepared me for what we're doing now.
Were mentors along the way? Because the Miami area, there are folks that we think, I mean, what Khaled meant to you, what Lou Diaz meant to you, and so forth.
Definitely.
How did they impact you? Why was that important?
Well, first, BB at Circle House gave me the shot when I needed it. And early on, I got in with Lou, and Lou believed in me early.
Love Lou Diaz.
That's my brother. He taught me so many things, and even a lot of my sound is about low end, and I learned most of those tricks from Lou and how he approached it. And he trusted me early. I was still an intern. My first credit was Ross's album, Port of Miami. My second credit was Khaled's album, and Lou was mixing it. And I remember the last day they left me there I was still an intern, but he trusted me enough to do it, but to cut cleans and prepare all the passes for mastering. And I guess I did it without messing up. The album came out.
I believe so.
Yeah, something worked. But Lou just always, I was this guy whenever he worked at Circle House. That was my session. And then same thing like Khaled, whenever he came there, it was like requests for me to work with him. And, you fast forward 10 years later, I mean, I learned so much from those guys, and it just, different aspects. With Khaled, I got to see him go from being the radio DJ to, and Lou was the one that called it on the first album, like, this guy's going to be the best A&R in the game. I mean, he went further than that, but just, he already knew how to take this, put it together. And, at the time, we believed what he was doing was going to, I don't know if we knew it was going to be this big, but
but you knew something.
Yeah, Miami was like, Ross and Khaled just kind of took Miami and gave it the little spurt that it needed to go. So I don't know. I was just lucky to link with them at the right time. And
well, there's something about you that a whole lot of people like. But if you were to evaluate, what would you say is your signature? What is your thing? Is it the low end? Is it?
A lot of it is the low end. I definitely pride myself on making things knock. From working with Khaled, he wanted his songs had to be the loudest in the club. If they weren't, it was a failure. A lot of my sound is pushing the limit. Even with kicks, I try to push it just to the point of it's too much, and then pull it back. I heard you say this once before on the show, but like, if you spend that much time or that much emphasis on something, it should be good. And I guess from being a mix engineer in Miami at one point, all the clients, all they cared about was bass. And I used to spend so much time thinking, let me get this depth right and this imaging right. And they would be like, turn the 808 up. So over time, I'm like, all right, this is what you like.
But when you get a chance at vocals, there's a Ben Billions thing. That's part of what you like.
I like to think so. I mean, after a while, I guess it's taste. There's certain things that certain frequencies that I don't like. I always say there's like you could be around somebody else and they'll do something and you're like, I wouldn't do that, but it sounds really good. And then there's sometimes people do things that's like, I wouldn't do that and I don't know why you're doing it. But I'm constantly trying to just push it. I like, and sometimes I have to check myself. Like if the song's not meant to be a club song, then I shouldn't sacrifice the song for the low end. But if we're going for something that's supposed to be played in a club environment, then in some ways I'll sacrifice some of the top end for the low end because I need it to.
But you're not afraid to. Sometimes to me, your music feels like a mixture of keeping that bottom right, keeping it hard, keeping it raw, but there's some sophistication in other elements, and it might be effects, it might be ambient sound, it might be. You're not afraid of putting those things together, are you?
No, I mean, when it's the merger, it's a beautiful thing. I always say it depends on the song, but when it works, it's great. And I think, we're always talking about like where's music gonna go, and one thing I do say is like the low end's not going anywhere. No matter what genre, like people just like bass now. Like I remember with Lou listening to like just old records in the studio and on the board. Like even if you listen to Thriller, like if you were to master it right now, as great of an album, you would probably still boost a bunch of low end on it and a bunch of highs, just because that's how our ears hear things now. Obviously the dynamics and the integrity of everything back then was different, but it's what we're used to, and the loudness that's out there for things to cut through. Like the bass has to be there. The brilliance needs to be there. So it's just the way sound changes, I guess.
One of the things I like about your stuff, and Herb's dead on, man. Your stuff is really good. As you always try to get a little bit back in the day stuff in there, some live instruments here and there. And then also, you don't use sound just to blow you away. You use sound to convey energy and emotion and feel. So your sounds are doing double duty. They sound great, but at the same time, together they combine to give me a feeling about something. And I like the way you use live instruments once in a while.
I'm blessed that I know a lot of talented people, and I stopped sampling. I still sample every once in a while, but if I can bring in a dope musician to do something, because I think a good beat always has at least one signature thing that makes it special. So there's nothing like the artifacts that a violin will give you, or a flute, or it's just something to cut through to give it some kind of integrity, to make it feel like it was sampled or it came from a older record. And a lot of things is like, from a purist aspect, I'm probably screwing up, but we're recording these sounds to make them sound degraded or sound like they were recorded 50 years ago. So sometimes it's using cheap. I love the SM7 or the SM57 we'll record piano on our iPhone and then airdrop it into the session, just because it sounds degraded already. I was about to put on these effects on it, and I think that's what's cool about where we're at with technology now, is that you have these different ways to degrade things and make them not perfect. Because if everybody's using the same, and I'm guilty, I use the same, we all have the same sounds and same, so it's like, what do you do to make it a little bit different, to feel like we're all not making the same thing? And
don't you think that what's going on is, like, if I want to look taller, I would stand next to a small person, if I want to look, you get the metaphor.
For sure.
So in order to
I think I'm offended.
Well, thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
But I notice in a lot of the work I do, like, I like using a really dirt cheap reverb next to my $5,000 Bricasti, because it makes the Bricasti sound prettier, and so without Do you need scale? You need if you see a picture of a road cut, you need a pen or a knife or something to let you know how big it really was.
Definitely.
So I think using the way you're using bad sounds is to enhance the good sounds, but at the same time, the bad sound's interesting, you know?
For sure.
And bad's the wrong term.
Each thing offsets the other, and the contrast is what
I love doing that in a mix.
Makes it good. Partly, I don't even know. I do a bunch of things trying to, until it feels up to my standards. I think everybody has their, we all have our threshold of what's good and what's not. And there's still times I got to question it, and that's why you collaborate with people or have people around you trust. And sometimes all it takes is somebody in the room being like, that's cool. And it's like, oh shit, I was about to trash it, but let's go. Somehow people trust me. So it's like, sometimes I'm just there to be like, nah, you sound good. Let's record it.
Once again, it's not somehow.
I say it to sound humble.
All these songs, that's what it is, my friend.
No, I'm humble, but deep down, obviously we're doing something good. It's working, but I still remember 5 years ago when people didn't want to listen to my beats or acted like they weren't good. So you got to stay humble, because if you come too gassed up or full of yourself, like, this industry has a way of humbling you real quick.
That ain't no joke.
So, I'm grateful. We're blessed to make it this far. But it's also somehow we got lucky, So, for those of us, moi, that don't understand the meaning of this, what exactly are strip club drums? I mean, I guess it depends. See, in Miami, our strip club, I'm kind of still talking ratchet strip clubs, because if you go to Miami, we got 100 of them, but Tootsie's is going to play different music than KOD or Rolex or and I got my start from mixing a lot of the strip club records in Miami, and it'd be cheap PA systems that they have in there, and you wanted to make sure your song sounded good on these cheap PA systems and bang.
So that's the reason you went to strip clubs, right? Just to check on your song.
It's definitely
research.
It's definitely research.
Yeah.
Maybe we can write some of it off on our taxes. But I like going to play all kind of clubs just to see how people. I go to Club Live. Everybody's there to have a good time. I'm in the back, watching people, seeing what they react to. That's how I tune my ears. This gets a reaction out of people. All right.
That's cool.
But the basic strip club drums are, I guess at this point it's 808s, but it's, I guess it's partly the programming too. Like, can you see, would a girl twerk to this? Will they get on the stage and somebody throw the money? And if you're the king of the club, if your song's the king of the club, you got a fighting shot out here. That's kind of how we got started. That's how a lot of Khaled's early records were. You wanted to be the king of the strip club. If that was the song everybody went nuts for, in a couple weeks, the rest of the world might catch on. At least that's how it felt.
Makes sense, really.
For a while, all I wanted to make was strip club bangers. I liked it. I like going to the club and hearing them play 4 or 5 of my songs. I felt like, oh shit.
How do you start a beat? Are you a live, Ableton Live?
Yeah, I'm in Ableton. I mean, it differs, but a lot of times I start with some chords or a melody, something. I guess because drums come almost secondary, so we can add them to almost anything and get a bounce. So I'm always looking for something to inspire me to go first. And I mean, I collaborate with a lot of people. So if there's somebody, I'm not a great player. I'll fluke it out, or I'll figure it out one way or the other. But if there's somebody around me that can play better, it might start from a melody. That's dope. Loop that up. And really, when we're making beats, we don't think too much about it. It's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Does it feel good? Should we save it? Should we keep going further? And usually I'm waiting for a writer or artist to be like, I like that. Do something to it to inspire me to go in on the post-production.
You like to do it live for a potential, rather than send them pre-recorded beats?
Yeah, almost every most of my placements have came with the artists
That's a bit of a headline
in the
really.
room. Like Down in the DM for Gotti, we made that, and that was the third song we made that day, but we made the beat in 15 minutes. It's my 2-track is the mix that came out. We never even really mixed it. That was my first
What about
number
Low
one.
Life Future? How'd that come about?
Low Life, the Healer actually originally started it. Abel had it for a while. We had worked on it, and it was right around, because I think the song came out on Christmas. It was right at like Thanksgiving. They hit me like Future wants it, and we sent it there, and Metro put the finishing touches on it. But we had the song for a little while, and it was just supposed to be like something Abel had that he was at one point was just gonna throw it out as like a little mixtape song or something. But it ended up being, I think it's 5 times platinum now.
Wow.
Ended up being a big one.
Out of a number of hallmarks in your career, there are long-standing relationships that you have. We talked about a couple of them from a mentor standpoint, Lou and Kyle and so forth, but then there's creative ones, the Weeknd and Khaled and Bell, and there's a number of those. Is that part of what you would say to an up-and-coming person that, knowing how to be in a room, knowing how to, those soft skills, is that important?
For sure. I mean, etiquette's important. Valuing your relationships. I mean, one thing to meet people, it's another thing to even keep those going. And I remember in school they were preaching to us about networking, and I was like, it sounds so corny to be like, you gotta go network, and it's like, just go meet people to like. It sounded crazy. I mean, again, I'm a kid from Delaware that knew nobody, and somehow now like my Rolodex is pretty. Like I impress myself sometimes.
Right.
Like, I got all these people's numbers.
Right.
I don't really hit them, and that's probably why they give me their number, because I'm not really gonna bug you. I'm not. I might hit you with a congrats here or there, but it's mostly about business. And there's certain people, the more you go through stuff with it's a trust thing, and somehow nothing, knock on wood, nothing ever got leaked on my watch. For years, I was the guy with Khaled. It's when you used to have the Glyph briefcases, and I'd go everywhere. He didn't fly, so I would go get every feature for him. Jeezy called me the transporter because I was walking around with a briefcase everywhere, and I would guard it with my life. Now I guard my book bag with my life because it is my life. Like I might hurt somebody over that backpack, but the trust of nothing. I guard people's files with my life. It goes a long ways, because most producers don't even. That's also the good thing of being the engineer is they give me their vocals, where like a lot of beat makers or most producers just send files and never get like I'm big on, send me the vocals back, let me put it in place, let me clean it up.
Because your personal trust then extends to artistic trust, right?
For sure.
Because once you build that, then it's easier for you that you get room to do what you need to do on a track.
Definitely.
That there's an understanding.
Definitely.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, and some people get demoitis and you can't change anything, and it's learning. Each artist is different. Some people want you to. This is a demo. Take it to the next level. Sometimes it's like, I like it the way I recorded it. I don't want to change it, and I'm like, damn, there's errors in it. But hey, it's your song. If you like it, I love it. Like I've had to learn. At first, I'm like, this is my baby. The more babies you have, you're like, some of them are gonna go to Harvard, some of them are gonna drop out. Like I want the best for all of them, but I can't save them all.
Your work processes are different for each artist. When you and the Weeknd work together, how does that work? Are you writing? Are you producing?
Yeah, a lot of he would start with a lot of just bare bones skeletons, like chords, maybe a basic drum. I think the only beat that like I sent him that was Party Monster. Was like, but almost often was the first time we worked together, and we made that that day. And mostly everything would be kind of on the spot. It just, it's better with the artists like that because you can feel that energy. You could try things and they can tell you right away, nah, that's not it. And one thing about Abel, he knows what he likes. I love artists like that. Like you get certain, I'm sure as an engineer, you get people that want to make changes just to make changes because of insecurity. Yeah. And you have some people that want to make changes because when you do it, it actually does sound better. And they want to try things. So when it's insecurity, you got to talk to them like, but when they're doing it for the right reasons, like, we'll work on this thing all day. If it's going to make you, the artist is the one that got to perform it for the next 20 years, you know? So like, my goal is to make sure they love it. That's our job at the end of the day is, are you happy to take this out into the world and perform it?
You work in Ableton Live. What do you monitor on?
I got a few, I love the old KRK V8s. In Miami, we got so many studios. Like Khaled got the We the Best studio. We got dual 18s in there. So if we really want to hear things bang, but I like the NS10s. Just because I'm used to them, I trust them. If I don't have them, even like the HS5s are good. I got a pair of Dyne Audio, the 10-inch ones that I like having a few things just to see how they translate. It's all about trusting your speakers. And for me, I guess so much of my production relies on the sound being right that I really have to, if my studio went down for a year because of the hurricane in Miami. And I started having to do a bunch of stuff at my bed, in my second bedroom at my house, like my home studio. And some of my mixes were suffering for a little bit, and I've had to like check myself because it's just being able to trust your speakers.
Right.
That's all we got.
Yeah, and in one little room, you know, I ghetto treated my room. It's enough for me to do my thing, but my old condo, I used to know that room well with no treatment in it. I just knew how it was supposed to sound. And when I got this new house, like this bedroom was a little more echoey, and a lot of I noticed for like 6 months, my sounds were suffering a little bit. Now I got it back where I need it to be. The studio's back up, but little things like that can screw everything up. If you don't trust what you're hearing, it's hard to dial it in.
It's impossible.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of car checks.
Definitely, yeah.
Did a lot of the musical community get hit by the hurricane?
I'm sorry?
Did a lot of the musical community get hit by the hurricane?
In Miami, well, Hit Factory got a little... See, our studio's on the water, so the flood is what screwed it up. So most of the other stuff was all good, but it was just our personal studio. Me and Lunch Money used it, and it got little water damage.
Shout out to Lunch Money, by the way.
Yeah, that's my brother. Me and him got a bunch of things going on. He's a big fan of the show as well.
He needs to come on.
We'll make it happen. That's too easy.
I got a whole list for you, but we'll start with Lunch Money.
However I can help. I'm here.
The business of the business, does that interest you? Are you building the bin business?
I wake up certain days and I'm on my business thing, and then other days I'm like, I just want to be creative.
Yeah,
because there's
they can conflict.
Yeah, you get off the phone with your accountant and he tells you something crazy, and next thing, like, I don't feel like making a beat right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
stressed out.
Some days I'm like, somebody else handle it. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to develop some artists, develop some producers, give some people the opportunity to, obviously, if they add to bring something to the table, point them in the right direction. And I'm here because people helped me. So,
so you do the same.
When you can't help everybody.
That's right.
And I always tell people, just because I hear it and might not do nothing with it, there was 1,000 people that said no to me that hit me up now like I should work with their artists. So if I say no or somebody else says no, who cares? Like, just find a few people that say yes and you'll be fine.
Have the calls changed with the Maroon 5 stuff? Are you getting a broader set of things, or is it mostly hip hop stuff? Or
I gotta be out here more for some of this pop stuff. In Miami, we don't get as much pop work. Got it. I mean, it is more urban music that is out there. I mean, sometimes I forget, but then when I get back out here, I think they still want to work with me.
They validate.
I don't know.
Right.
But LA is where the pop work is, so I need to be out here a little bit more. I mean, that song at least showed that we can. And honestly, Jason Evigan and Starrett had that to a point already, and I just kind of dusted it off, put some sauce on it.
It's good sauce.
It worked. It at least showed that we can finish a pop record. That our sonics can work on pop radio. So it meant a lot to me. That's what I was trying to prove, and I want to do a little bit of everything. I'm always looking for new things to inspire me and make me do the best.
How do young producers, do they approach you? Do they want to give you beats? Do you ever look for beats?
They do. I mean,
happens?
I get hit up with a bunch of DMs, and at one point I set up a Gmail for people to send me music, and it's kind of overwhelming. Hearing because there is so much talent out there, and it's like you want to help people, but then you're like, it's so many circumstances. It's like sometimes they're here and they're overseas, and I don't know all the way what to do with it. So I keep my ears open, but it's even that's its own task. Like where I kind of got to bring staff in to deal with to help in at least weed through it.
Yep.
Because again, I was saying earlier, like I don't, when I'm in my mode, I almost don't want to listen to certain music. And listening to 1,000 beats from beginners sometimes isn't the best creative.
It's bad for you.
It can be. I mean, even though we learn from the kids too, there's things that they do that their approach is different. And sometimes I feel like before I knew a lot, I was more creative, even though there were errors there. Like, so that's what I do listen for if I'm listening to younger people, like their approach more than anything. But
what advice would you give a young producer?
Stick with it. You gotta really want it. But if you stick with it, it took me longer than I wanted, but it worked, you know, and so many people told me no, and somehow we're still here. So, you gotta believe, you gotta wake up every day and want to be great. And same thing to engineers. Like when I was an engineer, I wanted to be the best at it. When I see some people out here, like kind of half-assing it and then expecting great things to happen, I kind of got to check them. Like, not in a bad way. I'll never say it in front of people, but I'm like, how do you expect to do this if you don't do this? And when I was an engineer, I put my engineer hat on and I wanted to be the best at it. It's same for the production. Anytime I half-ass it, I get half-ass results. So it's, you got to really wake up and embody what you want for it to happen.
Where do you get your inspiration from? Like you said earlier, you don't like to listen to too much music when you sit down to create, but do you ever
mostly if I'm looking for inspiration, I kind of go back to older stuff. Sonically, we know somewhat what it's supposed to sound like today. So it's like, what would have worked? What would have made me want to go to the tape store on a Tuesday? Like, what sounds did I like? So I'm going to look for inspirations from the early 90s
And is that hip hop and R&B, or is it?
It will. Mostly hip hop, because
right.
I was a hip hop kid growing up, but
sure.
But then soul music, R&B. Even now it's been long enough for like pop music, like. You could sample a Backstreet Boys record right now if you wanted to. Absolutely. Obviously those melodies still work today. So it depends, I guess, what project we're working on. If I'm working on something in my head, I'm like, what would have been cool?
Right.
You want something to compare it to without tracing it, but like everything should have, you should be able to pinpoint it to what worked in the past.
What is your source for, do you use a lot of loops? Do you get loops off Like pre-done loops?
Somewhat.
And what is your source for those?
I mean, there are a bunch of people doing the samples, sending them out. The only thing that, like, I respect all the guys doing it. The only thing I don't like is if all these producers have the same loops. Like, I don't want to go into a session. I've seen it before where people come into a session and hit play and somebody's like, I've heard that beat before. And it's because they all got the same loops are being passed around. So I try not to. I mean, maybe it's just me trying to feel like I'm the only one with this beat, but
so you're more likely to go to an old school record and find one that nobody knows or something?
Or, yeah, I mean, if I sample, I like to find, or I'll bring in one of my musician friends. I got a bunch of talented people, and
so you make your own.
We'll create our own little samples and just.
And what about one shots? What like kicks and snares?
I've been collecting libraries from all over. I mean, Splice is a crazy source for it now. And there's so many sites, everybody's passing them.
Yeah, it's like trading cards or something.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but it's weird. Like every year I kind of like keep my library, but I trash it and start a new folder. But then I still end up resorting to the same sort of sound. There's a certain punch I'm always gonna look for from a kick. There's a certain snap I always want from it. Even though I go to a whole different folder, I end up, they're not far from each other. It's just my taste likes tight claps and.
Yeah. When you create a beat, as a songwriter, do you ever go past that? Are you writing lyrics? Are you ever messing around with melodies? Are you?
Not too, I can't sing a lick. I mean, I'm blessed to be friends with a lot of talented writers. Lunch is super talented. Belly's super talented. Pooh Bear's my friend. J Cash. Like, so I let the people that do it.
It's just part of the key to your success.
Maybe if I'm in there, I might chime in on maybe say this, but I'm not going to go in there and reference it or like, I don't know. I let them do that part. And
now, do you like sports?
I do, but honestly,
because you're about to play baseball.
Yeah,
but that's all right. But you'll step up. You don't have to love anything. You just have to knock Dave's head off.
Let's see what we can do.
All right, you ready for batter's box? You're not?
I need my head.
Well, be careful because you're about to say goodbye to it.
Let's see. This could be a disaster.
I don't think so.
No, you're going to do great.
Well, here's the thing. Before you start, this will be the first guest on that has apologized for every incredible thing he does all the time. He's so humble. That's why you're going to get your head knocked out because he just apologized for it.
Well, I mean,
it's all an act.
He's a good person, and a good person would let me win.
No, don't do that.
However it goes, we're both going to win.
Represent Miami.
Okay, here we go. Synthesizers.
Dave Smith.
Ooh, it's going to be tough, Herb. 808s.
Everything.
Ooh.
Loops.
Generic.
Summing.
L2.
Stereo bus.
Oh, really? That's the L2 would be the stereo bus. Glue.
Cool. Reverb.
I like the Valhalla a lot. The vintage verb.
Drums.
Pocket.
Ooh. Bass.
Harmonic.
What's the cheapest piece of equipment you've used on a big song?
I mean, we use the SM7 to record almost everything. It's a cheap mic, but obviously it sounds.
It's a great mic.
It does the trick.
Okay, I concede.
You can beat me easily.
This may have been. Is this the first Florida off we've had? 2 Floridians going at each other.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, has Lou been on the show?
Yeah,
Lou's been on the show. So
Lou.
Did he do Batter's Box?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Lou was at,
this is another one in a series of Florida offs. So,
yeah.
I'm happy to be a part of it.
Oh yeah, no, we're happy to have you. You're optimistic about the future in music space?
I like to think so. It's just somehow it keeps getting better. I mean, the streaming is boosting the music economy. I know some people say it was better before. I didn't make my money in those days. shit seems good right now.
There you go.
Well,
So,
the before was just steal it. That's was the before.
yeah. That was my generation.
Napster and stuff.
So at least
better.
they're figuring out something to monetize
It'll
it.
get better.
Yeah.
And would you advise upcoming folks that education is important?
It worked for me. I mean, in I always knowledge and know-how trumps everything. There's certain things, there's people out there that might be more talented, but nothing beats knowledge. The more you always got to have some of that there. So whether you go to school for education or watch this or go on YouTube and watch tutorials, constantly stay learning. As soon as you think you know it all is when you lost.
That's great advice.
Tell me a kick drum that you heard. When you heard it, you got jealous, and who did it? Like when I heard Love Lies, I just wanted to hurt Fabian. That kick drum was like,
it's a good one.
It upset me. It was so good.
You know the song always beats extra hard in the club is ASAP Ferg Hurt. Like there's something, I don't know. For some reason, every time I hear it in the club, I'm like, that shit just rocks. I don't even know what makes it beg so much.
I think all producers and engineers have that one sound that just eats at you every time you sit down.
How they get it? And 9 times out of 10, it was a lucky mistake. A lot of times, even for me, I think some of this stuff that people think was like somehow just it worked. You get lucky and it gels together.
Well, how many times have you sampled your favorite drum sound and you put it in your song and it sounded horrible?
Yeah, by the time you tune it or warp it or whatever, it's all it's also how much space is there for it. Carving the space for it, I guess, to make sure if it's only an 808. When a Millie came out, and that was Fabian, right? Like beat harder than anything, but there was nothing to get in the way of the boom. So
Lollipop had a loud 808.
Yeah, a lot of Jim Johnson. That was the classic. Yeah, that's what I'm chasing. That's the dragons I'm chasing, man. I don't want my shit to beat like that.
Well,
you're there.
Yeah, I was gonna say before Dave takes us home, the thing that is fun about your career is that each chapter is evolving. Like, I know because you got to come back on.
Oh, definitely, please.
Oh no, we're having you
as long
back
as
on.
hopefully I didn't embarrass myself.
No, please come on, man. And the fun part is that there's going to be a whole list of new stories and interesting interactions and more collaborators and come to LA as much as you want, man, because the town needs you. And I'll just say this personally, in having just met you, it is refreshing that somebody who is so clear and winning on the music side is also so humble and just human about what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
And much pleasure and much thanks for that and shout out to your folks because you were raised that way. For sure.
They did something right.
They absolutely did. Dave, take us home.
Well, you kind of almost did it for me. I was sitting here thinking the same thing, Herb, about when I look at his credits and then I sit across from you and you're so humble when you shouldn't be. It's I guess the word is refreshing, and I think we could all use a little bit more of that, not just when you're talking to people, but in your private life. We need to give back a little more. We're at a time when a lot of things are going on that we can control through just love and helping each other, and maybe you'll be the next start small, go to thousandaire, then go to million, but always shoot to be that billion. And we'll see you next week.